The first time I saw her, there was blood on my hands and rain in my eyes, and a stranger kneeling beside my little girl with a torn shirt pressed to the wound. Sirens wailed, metal screamed, and time folded. My daughter, 10, in a pink hoodie, stared up at me dazed. The woman's voice was steady. "I'm not leaving you," I said. "I'm her father." She didn't flinch, then helped me keep her calm. They took us to a bright, humming corridor where hours stretched like years, but they finally said, "She's stable." Where are you watching from today? Kindly hit like, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more. I walked into a corner and cried for the first time in 17 years. I'd buried feelings with my wife, locked them under iron will and routine. But seeing my child almost fade cracked me open. The stranger stayed, eyes tired, scrub stained, courage unshakable. She said her name was Nora. I introduced myself simply, leaving out the weight of headlines and boardrooms. She nodded like she knew and didn't care. She checked charts, read stories aloud, and sat beside my child when I took calls I no longer wanted. My daughter trusted her instantly. "Kids know when someone means it," Nora said. "Grief rewires the heart." I asked how she knew. "I lost my sister at 13, she answered. The room went quiet. I invited her to dinner, not as a transaction, but as gratitude with a seat. She wore dark jeans, a white blouse, no armor. "I don't usually do this," she said, studying me without fear. "But my gut says you're either pretending to be human, or you truly are." I laughed for real. We talked about childhood, vinyl records, and our shared hatred of shallow talk. I told her about Eva, my late wife, and the goodbye that never happened. "Sudden things are the worst," Nora whispered, eyes lowered. "They steal closure." We left without touching, but something shifted, like a door unlocking somewhere quiet. The next day she didn't come by, nor the next. A letter slid under my door on the third morning. I didn't mean to get close. I care more than I should. That's why I'm leaving before I ruin something good again. It ended with her name, small, brave, and breaking me open. I'm not built to chase. I'm built to endure. But I couldn't think in meetings or charity halls, couldn't sleep beside beeping monitors. I read her note again and again. I saw the guilt between the lines, the kind I knew too well. I asked for a quiet search, where she lived, how she survived. Modest place. Stacks of books. A photo of two girls with identical smiles. When I knocked the third time, she opened the door a crack. "You found me," Nora said, no surprise, just rain in her voice. "You left me no choice," I replied. "I don't need protection from you," she said softly. "I need the truth." She let me in. Bare feet. No makeup. Still luminous. I sat and waited. She stood, then finally sat opposite. "I didn't lie," she began, "but I didn't tell everything." Her words trembled, not with weakness, but with the weight of past storms still moving through her. "There was a man 2 years before we met," she said. "A firefighter. I thought it was real. He ran when it got hard. I stayed and called it love. That was my mistake." I listened and felt anger, for the man who ran, and for the story that blamed her. "You're not the problem," I said. "I believed I was," she replied. "Then I met your child and you. Wanting something again scared me more than anything else." "Why?" I asked, afraid of the answer. "Because I didn't think I deserved another chance." I leaned forward. I lost a wife. I almost lost my child. I signed contracts worth more than countries, and felt nothing. Then I saw you with blood on your hands, and a steady breath in chaos. For the first time in years, I felt less alone. Tears gathered in her eyes, stubbornly unshed. I reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. We moved slowly after that. No rushing, no grand plans. She kept her job. I kept my impatience on a leash. My daughter adored her drawings, baked messes, shared laughter over cooking shows. One afternoon the question dropped, "Are you going to be my new mom?" Nora froze. I said gently, "She's someone who cares about us. That's a special kind of person." That night, Nora cried, not from fear, but from wanting to say yes and not yet. Then came a call before sunrise, A stranger's voice rusted with malice. You don't know who she is. Ask about Dane. Ask what happened in the northern city. The line died. The silence afterward was heavy and cold. I didn't confront her that day. I watched her paint flowers with my child, press her finger lightly to guide a brushstroke. My chest ached with wanting to trust and the habit of verifying truths that once shattered my life. I asked my head of security for a discreet review. I hated myself for it, the same way I hated the unknown. The report landed with a thud. Nora, licensed nurse, once connected to a patient named Dane, a man she'd known before he arrived critically injured. Administration called it inappropriate. The family blamed. A sealed settlement resolved it. No crime alleged. She relocated. Facts cut clean, but not always true. I sat alone, reading it twice, hurting twice. I went quiet for 2 days, and she arrived in rain without an umbrella, face set like someone who refuses to drown. You know, she said when I opened the door. You had me followed. I had your past summarized. I answered, hating the words. After a call told me you weren't who you claimed. She exhaled. Dane. I asked if it was true. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? Because it almost broke me, and I'm more than that. I loved someone who was dying, she said. I knew him before the accident. I tried to recuse myself. They wouldn't let me. I stayed too long, crossed lines of comfort, not care. He went septic. I didn't kill him, but I held his hand while he faded. The family needed a target. I didn't fight. My guilt wasn't murder. It was attachment without protection. I rubbed my face. I don't know what to do with this. She nodded. I'll make it easier, she whispered, turning. I stopped her. I didn't say leave. You didn't say stay, she answered, eyes clear. She walked into the rain, and I hated myself for letting fear speak louder than faith. Days stretched thin. My child kept asking, when will she come back? I told the truth I could carry. Not today. Nights were longer. Every room remembered her footsteps. Every quiet moment reminded me that love requires courage, or it becomes history. A package arrived at my office. Photos of a friend from my late wife's life, holding hands with a stranger, dated shortly before Eva died. A letter asked why the dead were allowed grace, while the living were measured by scars. My hands shook. I had judged Nora by a chapter, not her book. If someone did that to me after loss, they'd miss the man I'd fought to become. That night I went to her. She wasn't home. An elderly neighbor said, she left yesterday. Said she's going to lay something to rest. No city name, just the word home. I didn't wait. I got on a plane at dusk with a folder in one hand and a photo of Nora and my child in the other. Cold air met me where memories stung. I drove to a weathered house with blue shutters in a quiet street. I knocked. She opened, wearing a sweater too big for grief. I thought I left you behind, she said. I don't think I ever let you go, I replied, stepping into lemon-scented air and years of photographs. A suitcase waited by the stairs. An album lay open, 2 girls with wild eyes on the page. I came to donate her things, Nora said. I kept saying I would, but I never did. After you, I realized I can't build new rooms on an unburied past. We stood in gentle silence. You came all this way to say what? She asked. That I was wrong, I answered. About you. About everything fear told me. I stepped closer. I believed the worst because believing in you meant risking loss again. Loving again. She blinked hard. I never asked you to love me. You didn't need to, I whispered. I handed her the folder. Eva wasn't perfect. Neither am I. Real love isn't spotless. It's honest, scarred, and willing to keep showing up. I'm not asking for love despite my past, she said. I'm asking you not to use it as a weapon. I won't, I promised, feeling my own ghosts gnawed. I'm scared, she admitted. So am I said, moving one step closer. She set the folder down and threw her arms around my neck like she'd run out of ways to stay distant. I caught her, steady and grateful. No speeches. Just breath. Just warmth. Just 2 storms finally softening. We lay on an old carpet in a quiet room and talked about small things that mattered big. teaching my child to bake without burning, repainting a room sky blue, what coming back would mean. I want to try, she said. Not cinematic, just true. Weeks later, we returned to our everyday light. My child ran into her arms. Don't go again. I'm not, Nora answered. I watched from the hall with a heart I didn't recognize, lighter, older, and finally awake. Peace arrived like dawn, gentle and believable. Then another envelope slid into our life. A single line typed. You think her story is over? It's not. Inside, a photo. Nora with a man I recognized from work. The hand at her back too familiar. My stomach dropped, not because I believed it, but because old habits held old knives. I didn't show her immediately. I watched, listened, read her journal only to put it back, ashamed. No mention of him, just truth. I confronted the man at the office behind a closed door. He admitted they'd had coffee and a few lunches months before I met her. She ended it, he said. She never really looked at me. His words stung and soothed. Stilled, outgnawed. I showed Nora the photo that night. She went still, then said, This isn't what it looks like. Help me understand, I asked, heart unsteady. I met him at a benefit. I didn't know his ties. We talked a little, she continued, but the last time I saw him was that picture. I couldn't pretend I didn't care about someone else, about you, even before you and I had words for it. Silence widened. Do you love me? I asked. Yes, she said instantly. Then why does this feel like betrayal? Because you're still bleeding from wounds I didn't give you, she answered. The truth landed precise and kind. I need time, I said. She nodded and left. 3 days later, another letter arrived. Check the man. I did. Accounts, messages, a trail of quiet poison. He had hired someone to stitch half-truths into my life, feeding my fear drip by drip. Because envy is patient. Because control disguises itself as care. I fired him before lunch, froze everything he held, and drove without calling. I had no speeches left, only the urgency of a heart done with doubting the woman who kept choosing us even when tested. She opened her door with a face both calm and tired. Please don't talk yet, I said. Just listen. She stepped aside. I know the truth now. You didn't lie. You didn't get the grace to be trusted. Her eyes shone. It was him. I nodded. I'm tired of being tested, she said. I know, I whispered. I'm sorry I made love into an exam. Do you love me? She asked. Yes, I said. Then start over with me. She breathed. I don't want to be a chapter you regret, she added. You're the chapter one keep rereading, I told her, and the way she kissed me felt like home finally naming itself. The second time she moved in, she brought a key, a plant she named Walter, 3 framed photos of her sister, and a toothbrush beside mine. Headlines tried to take ownership of our story. We let them talk to empty rooms while we made breakfast, real and ordinary. My child spotted the ring first at the table. Is that real? She gasped. Nora blushed. It's small. It's huge, my child insisted. I grinned. I told her to pick anything. She chose what she could wear without a parade following. Does this mean we're a real family now? My child asked. I kissed her head. We always were. We married quietly with 10 witnesses and vows that arrived without paper. Nora said, You stayed when my ghosts tried to speak. I said, You gave me a second life. The judge dabbed her eyes. We laughed, we kissed, we breathed. 6 months, no, 8 months later, a letter arrived from a recovery center far away. It was from the man who hurt our world. He said he was trying to fix himself, that I had chosen mercy instead of becoming another headline. Nora showed me the note. I didn't answer it with words. I took her hand and held on, steady. Time started healing without asking permission. My child grew taller, braver in water. Nora began to write late at night. Lamp soft, tea cooling untouched. 2 years, no 3. After the day on the asphalt, she published a memoir called After the Crash. It opened with that first scene. Blood, rain, a promise whispered to a frightened child. We bought a small house near a quiet lake, taught bread to rise, and arguments to end with compassion instead of silence. We had a son and named him Jonah. My child taught him to blow bubbles and keep secrets that are actually surprises. I never stopped grieving Eva. Nora never stopped missing her sister. But grief changed shape. It stopped barricading our hearts and started holding up the walls. Love isn't the absence of pain, Nora said one evening, reading on the porch. It's the choice to build anyway. I nodded, thinking of every letter we didn't let define us. On our 5th anniversary, no, 7th, I gave her a small box. Inside was the original ring, recast and repolished, engraved with 4 words, "You stayed. I healed." She looked up with tears that didn't ask permission. "You healed me too," she whispered. We celebrated with pancakes and a messy kitchen because fancy never tasted as sweet as ordinary done together. Later, we danced in socks on a wooden floor, our children laughing from the hallway like bells announcing joy. People still asked for the fairy tale. We never had one. We had something better, a love story that began on pavement in chaos, with a stranger who stayed when others ran. The world tried to test us with rumors and photos, but time became our evidence. I learned to talk before doubt. She learned to rest before running. We learned to fight the problem, not each other. And when fear knocked, we answered together, hand in hand, lights on. Sometimes I revisit that first night in memory. Sirens, gasoline, rain like needles, my child's small hand gripping mine. I hear Nora say, "Stay with me." I hear my own voice crack, letting someone else lead. That moment remade me. I thought power was control. It turned out power was trust. I thought love was perfect. It turned out love was honest. I thought healing was silent. It turned out healing sings softly until you finally listen. So here's the truth I carry to you. Wherever you are, love will test you with ghosts and letters and photos that arrive to steal your peace. Choose each other anyway. Choose to explain instead of accuse. Choose to ask, "What do you need from me right now?" Choose pancakes and forgiveness and ordinary mornings where no one has to earn their place. Our story didn't begin with candlelight. It began with courage in a storm, and it keeps choosing sunrise.